right? Did you heard of Borat? I hope some of you saw that, right? How about that? Is that a documentary or is it a narrative? It's a funny one, isn't it? Yeah, but it's not a documentary. It was a theatrical release. It made a lot of movie in the theaters. Okay, but it kind of falls into that, maybe a combination of both. All right. Now, we'll get to what we did the original thing of. And by the way, when we're done with here, I'm going to wrap up today by showing you about 10 minutes of a video about genres, because I really want you to get into one particular type of genre. But this is basically just a way of categorizing a movie. All right? If it involves a lot of Army and Navy, it's probably going to get classified as a war movie, right? If it involves cowboys and Indians, if it involves aliens, if it involves a big plot between a guy and a girl, yeah, we're kind of getting this, right? Not that difficult. All right, what's the good part and what's the bad part about labeling a movie?
Some people might not watch it.
Yeah, it could turn people off, right? You don't look like the kind of like a horror movie.
No, I love horror.
Oh, all right.
Action now.
Okay, don't like action
I
adventure.
like fake movies.
Yeah, so you're not going to go see a Jackie Chan movie.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Other than Kill Bill.
All right, but you Kill Bill. But see, you've identified a weakness of typing things by genre, right? If you don't like that genre, chances are you're not going to go to see that movie no matter what it is, right? Even if it has your favorite actor or actress in it, right? Okay. What are some of the strengths of genres?
It tells you what the movie's about.
You kind of know going in a bit about what's going to happen in the movie, right? Okay. You go into a sci-fi movie and you can almost guess it's going to be about 2 or 3 or 4 possible things, right? Aliens, the future, spaceship travel, something like that. Yeah. It's easy to do. Any other strengths or weaknesses we ought to be thinking about? It's easy to develop characters in a genre, isn't it? Yeah. Back in the old westerns, they used to say, look for the guys in the white hats. That's the good guys. Yeah. All right.
Or black.
Yeah. Easy to characterize, to maybe advance a plot in a genre, because the audience has a certain set of expectations going into the theater.
The actors in the movies, you know who's going to be the good guys and who's going to be the bad guys usually by the actors.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Conventions. These are not hard and fast. They're not like written down somewhere. Or maybe they are in a textbook someplace, right? Okay. But there's no like 10 Commandments in Hollywood that says, thou must wear a white hat if you're a good guy in a Western. Clint Eastwood wore plenty of black hats in some of his movies in Westerns, and he was bad. But these are all things that will be kind of common, right, in a convention. We talked about themes in a Western, for example.
Right.
Okay. What kind of themes would we see in a romance or a romantic comedy?
Like they're about ready to kiss.
You're jumping ahead. I'm talking about themes.
Oh,
What kind of themes would we see in a romantic comedy? The guy's better off if he gets the girl. The girl's better off by getting the guy, right? And these are kind of like givens, right? That some type of pursuit is going to happen in the movie. Anybody seen Hitched? Came out 2 or 3 years ago. Will Smith, that's one of my wife's favorite movies, right? She'll sit and watch that thing 35 times while she's folding clothes or paying bills or doing something like that, because it's a romantic comedy that follows these type of conventions, right? Settings, we can almost figure out by the name of the genre alone what the setting is, right? A Western's going to be in the West, usually the Old West, right? A war movie's going to be usually in a war.
right.
World War II, Vietnam, Korea, the Hurt Locker, Iraq. Yeah. All right. How's it going to be presented?
When the war movies, they usually have like guys in fatigues, like army people.
Right. We're going to see people dressed in a certain way. Remember Casablanca? We saw Nazis, right? We saw French uniforms. But we also see people presented clearly as good guys and bad guys.
Right.
Right? The side that's on truth, justice, and American way, and the side that's, the evil, nasty, bad people. Okay. Character types. Anybody know what I'm talking about there? We usually have 2 types of characters,
Good and bad.
besides good and bad. Some characters are called round. They're going to grow, they're going to develop, right? Yeah, they're going over the course of the movie. Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, Rick Blaine, right? Starts from being, I always stick my neck out for nobody, right, to what he did. The other type of characters are not round, they're flat. Yeah. They don't grow much. They pretty much have a minor role and it kind of stays the same throughout the entire movie. All right, that doesn't change a lot. Okay. Story formulas and stars. We'll talk a little bit more about those too. All right. Textbook identifies 6 major American genres. How many of you have seen at least one movie in all 6?
What's film noir?
Film noir.
Black,
Dark stories and plots. You may not have seen any. That's the one I'm going to show you the 10-minute video about it at the end. Postman Always Rings Twice. Double Indemnity. Chinatown was neo-noir, done in the 70s. LA Confidential was probably, you say, Alan, probably the most recent movie that was an attempt at doing like neo-noir.
There's been a whole bunch of them that never got to theaters.
Yeah, that's true. All right. We understand gangster, we understand sci-fi, we understand horror, we understand western, we understand musical. By the way, the textbook touches upon this, but let me just kind of add, right? You can also have genre blending, right? You can have a movie that falls under a couple of different genres, right?
right.
All right.
Gangsters, westerns.
Pardon?
I'm just saying, like the gangsters and the
Yeah.
westerns.
Yeah, right?
Right.
It could be a gangster with the western something, or a western with the gangster theme, right? It could be a sci-fi that's combined with horror, right?
Right.
What we call Alien and Aliens,
Right.
right? That's sci-fi, but it's horror. All right. So genres do kind of mix at times. All right. First off, the textbook mentions the genre theme, and I think it uses The Godfather as its main thing. But look at here. All right. These are generally the elements that make up that movie, right? Goodfellas follows this genre to a T. This is The Godfather. It has plot elements that are common to the gangster era, right? Let's go back. It's in an urban setting, fairly rags to riches, not completely. Questioning authority, the senior Corleone and what happens with him and his son is really central to the whole movie. The guy who ends up taking over the Corleone leadership is kind of the anti-hero. He didn't want anything to do with the family business at the beginning of the movie. All right, and then the female character is kind of relatively low supporting cast. All right, film noir, fatalistic, despair, dark, usually urban, very hard-boiled, rough-edged characters, a lot of anti-heroes. Women are generally femme fatales. They are poisonous, they're going to kill you or get you killed if you're not careful dealing with them. All right? Usually very visual, very dimly lit, lots of really dramatic scenes. I have a video that we're going to show afterwards about this, but the textbook uses a 1944 movie, Double Indemnity, as an example. Famous director, Billy Wilder. That is Fred McMurray, who is the male lead. Barbara Stanwyck is the female lead. And you won't know this by today's standards because it's really old technology, but that is a dictation machine that he's talking into. And this movie sets up him talking about his own demise. He's basically recounting what happened to him in the dictation machine and how it led to his downfall. All right, that's how it's done. If you notice the lighting, right? Very dark, very shadowy type lighting. And there is that name for it, which I never can pronounce well. Curiosity light. Something like that. All right. 3 or 4 common themes in sci-fi. Humanity versus technology. What movie comes to mind? Should be just right out of your mind, right? Terminator. Yeah, Terminator, right? Right? Technology is going to take over humankind. Remember how did Skynet begin?
What?
How did Skynet begin? Did you not see the Terminator movie?
I just watched the third one too.
How did Skynet begin? Do you remember? The United States and the USSR felt it was too much to ask that human being to be able to control hitting the button, so they turned it over to the computers. And the computers then took over everything. Skynet. All right. Speculative, futuristic type settings. Blade Runner. Kind of funny because in the time they talk about is now, but now it's not like what the movie was made back around 1980. Great example. Protagonists, the people who are the leads, are extremely down to earth, right? Sarah Connor,
Yeah.
you see, hey, a desperate mother trying to save her son, right? There's nothing unusual about the things that she does. She's probably more hard-edged than many women would be, but you never know. If they knew their son was destined to be extinguished, they might be that way too. All right? And then the antagonists in most of these movies aren't us, right? They're not us, right? What was Arnold's original purpose in the first Terminator movie? Yeah, he was going to try to destroy her. Yeah. All right. Who tries to destroy us in Independence Day? Those aliens, right? They put all those spaceships up there, right? Yeah, the enemy is usually robots or aliens or computers in the case of Terminator, right? Skynet is huge computer system. Okay. So, how about the Matrix movies? Yeah, you see, it's usually not us, it's somebody else. That's the bad guy. All right. I Am Legend. Right? Technology destroys the earth, right? Yeah. Third genre, horror. Kind of funny because this has really gotten this revival in the last 10, 12 years with the zombies. I'm not exactly sure why or how, but that's not today's topic, right? But general themes, right? You're going to go crazy or you're going to die. Usually set at night, usually set in the rural area, all right? Once in a while in the normal world, but if it's a normal world, something's really gone crazy. Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a good example, okay? Usually the protagonist is a good person, but is either a loner or has problems. They're seen as being a little wacko or a little off or something like that, okay? The antagonist is always that other thing. Maybe it's an alien, maybe it's a killer, serial killer, Hannibal Lecter type.
Yeah.
All right, Buffalo Bob, Buffalo Bill. Highly recognizable by visual style. It's very easy to see right from wrong, good from bad in this movie. And the textbook example that they used was Bride of Frankenstein. All right, and what they're using is low-key lighting that emphasizes the big contrast between brightness and darkness in his space. All right. You see a lot of bright, you see a lot of darkness, and you see a lot of foreboding. Right? This is not the kind of guy you want to run across in a dark alley at night. Next one is Western, and again, you saw the movie about that. You know, wilderness, rural, duality of characters, right? The sheriff may have been a bad guy that's now gone good, right?
That's what he was all.
Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah. Okay. Very recognizable visual style. You saw that. They actually had a little snippet from My Darling Clementine. You have civilization versus the wide open West. The towns represent civilization. The sheriff represents civilization. The train represents civilization. When the bad guys rob a train in a Western, they're rebelling against civilization.
Right.
And then we get the musical, right? Anybody see Chicago? Came out, what, about 6, 7 years ago?
More than that.
Richard Gere and Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Did you see the woman?
Queen Latifah's in it.
Queen Latifah's got a little role in it. Yeah, but there's another third. Anyway, this was kind of like a throwback to the old the genres of musical. And one of the things I love about the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, it opens with a little like tribute to the musical era of movies, and you see that. But the typical way that a musical comes off, it's a backstage story. And what that means is that the story that we see in the movie is generally the characters preparing for a musical. They are dancing, they're rehearsing, they've been chosen in the cast of a performance, and we see the story through what happens in that process. Okay. The movie is written and planned in such a way that at certain key points we're going to see musicals. We're going to see people either dancing together or dancing alone, and that becomes a part and parcel of it. Anybody seen West Side Story? Maria, I once met a girl named Maria, right? Yeah. All right. And we get these animated features from the characters and a little bit of romantic comedy and give back and so on and so forth with them. All right. The textbook mentions Dream Girls, which is the backstage story of these girls trying to make it as Motown performers. All right. And it's kind of loosely based on the Supremes and some of the other Motown groups, but not tightly. All right. There's another picture from it. All right. Now, the textbook points this out, and it's really important to understand. Genres change, and they change as the culture changes. The writing changes, the direction changes. What the main characters do in the movie changes as a result of how the culture changes. All right. Why is Brokeback Mountain classified as a Western?
It's got horses.
It has Western elements in it. The guys met in a Western setting, were doing Western type activities, but it's about two guys that were homosexual lovers. But it is a Western that wouldn't have been made 30, 40 years ago because of what's going on in society. All right. And the textbook also mentions another example, or if it doesn't, I'll mention it. Alien. Ripley, the protagonist, who's a woman in Alien. The first movie came out around 1979, 1980, then the sequel that was done by Ridley Scott was out about 4 or 5 years later. You know what made this movie so different? The lead character had a gun, and she wasn't afraid to use it. She is tough as nails. This movie could not have been made before the feminist movement. Hollywood wouldn't have accepted, moviegoers wouldn't have accepted a real strong female protagonist like Ripley at that time. So, Brokeback Mountain, Alien are examples of this change. All right. Textbook wraps up with a discussion about animation, a few different types of animation, so I want to kind of follow with that as well. What page is it on in your book? Somebody want to give me a page number? And again, I'm repeating these for the benefit of my online folks.
103.
103. Okay. Yeah, the 4th edition is a little bit earlier. It's around 99 or 100. All right. There we go. It's actually a 111 in mine. Okay. 3 types of animation. Hand-drawn, stop motion, and digital. I think we can understand this. Hand-drawn means what?
Drawn with a hand.
An artist sits down and draws every cell or every shot that we see in the movie, one at a time. Or a team would do it. This was the way that animation was done all the way through the 1930s, and then even into the 40s and 50s and 60s and sometime after that. Okay. What's stop motion?
A whole bunch of still pictures put together.
The whole series is still pictures put together. Anybody see the movie King Kong? I'm talking about the original. 1933. You can review that, by the way. You got my permission. All right. That is stop motion animation. They literally took a few thousand pictures of Kong. Move a little finger, take another picture. Move 2 fingers, take another picture. Move a foot a little bit, take another picture. Move a foot a little bit, take another picture. That's how you get motion of Kong in that movie. All right. Very time-consuming, very tedious, but people accepted it. And today we get digital. What's that? This is a picture from, I think, your textbook, 2007. This is graphic, mostly drawings, 2-dimensional. This is stop-action animation from 1990. I don't know this movie, The Cone. Looks like it's an experimental movie, yeah. Okay, but this follows the same tradition that began with King Kong back in the 30s, right? What's a good example of a digital animation type movie?
Avatar.
Avatar's a good one, the more recent. Yeah, go back just a little bit in time. Everybody know what the first all-digital movie was? I'll make a prediction. You've seen it. Okay. Now I'm going to break down.
Probably some sort of Mickey Mouse.
You're making me sing. You're in trouble. You've got a friend in me.
Toy Story?
You've got a friend in me, right? 100% digital, all animated, yeah. All right. It uses computer modeling software to generate the characters that we see. It's versatile. It's labor intensive, but not as much as the other ones. And we now know how good the movie makers are at taking live action type movies and putting animated characters in it, right? And you say Jar Jar Binks, right? That despicable character in Star Wars Episode 1. Animated character with everybody else in a live action movie. That movie also was done all digitally, shot digitally, by the way. And then the textbook points this one out, right? And I think I've shown this picture once before, right? The beauty of this one was that the animation was put into the live action of the movie. The dinosaurs were put into the live action. However, the textbook calls this compositing. That's the process of bringing all the elements together into the one frame. All right. The textbook also makes a brief mention about the movie Polar Express and the concept of uncanny valley. People who saw Polar Express were a bit turned off about it. Why? It fell into that uncanny valley. All right, who's read the textbook? You remember what I'm talking about? It's near the very end of this
Doesn't
chapter.
conform to the real human being's actual look or move.
Too perfect.
Yeah, it's good. I just read that on.
It's okay, too perfect. Right? People saw the little kids in Polar Express and no kid's going to be just like that. It's too perfect. All right? So the animators began to make sure that they would stay away from the uncanny valley, right? And I think they're pretty good. If I brought in my copy of Toy Story 3, and yes, I do have a DVD of Toy Story 3 at home, all right, and I put in the scene where Buzz and Woody and the guys are about to, and the characters are all about to be incinerated, right?
I almost cried.
That's my point. Thank you. That's my point. It is so realistic, right? Especially 5-, 6-year-olds. They're watching this and they're crying. They're about to see Buzz and Woody and Calamity Jane. And they're all going to get incinerated. They're going to get burned.
For that stupid teddy bear.
Yeah, because that evil, mean teddy bear. Right? Let's call him what he is. We call evil evil in this class, right? This is a film class. You're allowed to call good good and evil evil.
No, I just can't believe he's going to pick that.
You can't believe what?
I can't believe he said he's going to cry when you tell me it's an evil teddy bear.
Did you see the movie?
No.
You got to see the movie to understand it. You got to see the movie to understand it.
Fanatic.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, look how far we advanced in just 6 years. In Polar Express, when they were too perfect, what's the textbook say again?
Doesn't conform to the way real human beings actually look or move.
Yeah, thank you. Doesn't conform to the way we actually look or move. To Toy Story 3, where Buzz and Woody not only conform, they've got us crying because they're about to get fried. That is an awful lot of progress in a short amount of time. Okay. That does chapter 3, and Alan, we can stop recording. Thank you.